Have you ever wondered what true power looks like? Not the kind you shout about, not dominance, not brute strength, not even wealth, but the quiet kind, the kind that walks into a room and changes the energy without saying a word, the kind that doesn't flinch when the world throws its worst. Imagine being so in control of your inner world that nothing, no comment, no failure, no insult can shake you. Imagine walking through chaos with a calm so deep that others begin to question their own reactions. That's the power we're unlocking today. In this video, I'm going to teach you a mindset that will change the way you move through life. A mindset that makes you untouchable, not because the world becomes easier, but because you become stronger. This is about mastering the art of indifference, not apathy, but controlled, conscious, emotional resilience. You'll learn how to train your mind to act as if nothing bothers you. And once you master that, no one and nothing will ever have power over you again. Let's start with the truth. Life doesn't get easier. The problems don't vanish. The criticism doesn't stop. And people don't suddenly become kinder or more understanding just because you were working on yourself. But what can change, what must change, is your reaction. Because every time you let a snide remark, a failed plan, or a small inconvenience hijack your emotions, you are giving away your power. Think about that. Every little outburst, every sleepless night spent replaying what someone said or didn't say, those are all moments where you gave them the keys to your inner kingdom. But what if you didn't? What if instead you learned to pause, to breathe, to observe, to remain untouched? The nothing bothers me mindset. Let's be clear. Mastering this mindset doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop bleeding energy on things that don't serve your purpose. Life is loud, opinions, distractions, setbacks. They're everywhere. The world doesn't care if you're trying to stay focused. It will test you anyway. That's why true strength isn't about having fewer problems. It's about responding to those problems without falling apart. Now imagine walking through a storm, not in fear, but with absolute composure. Picture yourself as the eye of that storm, still centered, unshaken. That's not just poetic imagery. That's what emotional mastery looks like in action. The first step is detaching your emotions from external circumstances. Sounds simple, but let's break it down. Most people live reactively. Something bad happens, they get angry. Someone criticizes them, they get defensive. But what if you didn't react? What if you responded instead with intention? When you allow the external world to dictate your mood, you become a puppet. But when you train your mind to remain unmoved, you become the master not only of your emotions, but of your destiny. The world respects those who remain calm in chaos. There's a quiet authority in stillness. You don't need to shout to be powerful. In fact, the loudest person in the room is often the weakest. Power is presence, and presence comes from control. Channeling inner authority. Think of the historical figures who changed the world. Were they reactive? Did they panic with every insult or retreat at every setback? No. They moved through life with a deep sense of control, a calm that made others follow. Why? Because true leadership starts with self-leadership. Their strength wasn't in their fists or their words, it was in their silence, in their refusal to be shaken, in their ability to stay composed when everything around them was falling apart. That's the secret no one teaches you. The real power lies in your ability to remain unfazed. Even the great philosophies of self-mastery and success boil down to one powerful truth: thought precedes action. What you think, you become. If you constantly react to the world emotionally, you give it your power. But if you cultivate an unwavering mind, the world begins to bend around you. Detachment as a weapon. Let's take a real-life example. Say someone insults you publicly, loudly, with the intention to humiliate. The instinct: retaliate, defend, prove them wrong. But what if you didn't? What if you smiled and walked away? Do you know what happens then? You rob them of their power. You leave them holding the weight of their own negativity while you rise above it, untouched, undefeated. That's not weakness. That's dominance in its purest form. Silent, elegant, absolute. Now apply this to failure. When life knocks most people down, they collapse emotionally. They obsess. They overthink. They waste days, weeks, even years lamenting what went wrong. But those who understand detachment, they observe. They adapt. They move forward. Failure doesn't define them. It informs them. And then, like a skilled fighter, they pivot and strike again, wiser than before. Daily practices to master your emotions. So how do you develop this level of control? You train. Just like you train your body, you train your mind. Every day. Start by pausing before you react. That split second of awareness is your power. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will this matter in 5 years? Am I giving away control just to win a pointless battle? The answer is almost always no. Then comes visualization. Picture a version of you who isn't easily rattled, who smiles when insulted, who stands tall when others panic, who walks into any room and owns it without saying a word. See that version of you clearly. Often, with repetition, the mind accepts what it sees. That version of you becomes real. Let people wonder why you're unshaken. Let them question how you stay so composed. In that mystery lies your edge, because mystery commands attention, and attention, when paired with calm, becomes influence. True power is quiet. Don't confuse control with coldness. Emotional mastery doesn't mean you suppress feelings, it means you manage them. You experience joy, grief, excitement, but you choose how long you dwell in each state. Your emotions serve you now, not the other way around. Picture this, you're in a heated conversation. Someone's trying to provoke you. Their voice rises, their words sting. Do you mirror their energy, or do you remain calm, composed, almost amused? When you don't react, you starve their fire of oxygen. Their power evaporates. Yours only grows stronger. Emotional detachment is not disconnection, it's discernment. It's deciding that not everything deserves a reaction and not everyone deserves access to your peace, because your inner world is sacred, untouchable. And when you protect it, clarity increases, stress decreases, and life's challenges become manageable like puzzles, not battles. The mind shapes reality. There's an old principle, what you focus on, you attract. If you allow every inconvenience to hijack your mind, you become a slave to circumstances. But when you choose your focus deliberately on growth, on strength, on peace, you shape your reality. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man who lost everything. His business failed, his investments evaporated, his reputation gone overnight. Most would collapse under the weight of such loss. But not him. Instead of mourning, he reflected. Instead of lashing out, he planned. He saw the loss not as the end, but as a new beginning. Why? Because he believed his mind was his greatest asset, and no one, no market, no critic, no failure could take that from him. With that mindset, he rebuilt. And not just to where he was, but far beyond. This is the power of detachment, the power of resilience. Obstacles as stepping stones. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they drown in emotion. They start strong, but the moment things get hard, they spiral. Fear, doubt, frustration, they become the storm instead of standing in the eye of it. But those who persist, those who rise, are the ones who've trained their minds to see every obstacle as a stepping stone. They understand that emotions are temporary, and they never let a passing feeling ruin a permanent vision. Remember this, you are not your emotions. You feel anger, but you are not anger. You experience fear, but you are not fear. You are the observer, the master. And once you remember that, nothing can break you. Practical exercises to build mastery. Let's make this tangible. Next time you're in a stressful situation, try this. 1. Pause. Take one conscious breath. 2. Label the emotion. This is frustration. This is anxiety. 3. Ask, does this emotion help me reach my goal? 4. Decide. Choose whether to let it pass or channel it productively. This single practice done repeatedly can rewire your emotional response over time. You can also journal your triggers. Reflect daily on what made you react and how you could have responded better. Over time, you'll see patterns, and patterns give you control. Own your calm, own your life in a world that profits off your fear, outrage, and insecurity. Calm is a revolution. Indifference to nonsense is a superpower, and composure is the quiet confidence that sets leaders apart from followers. Be the calm in the storm, the rock in the chaos, the one who does not flinch. Because when you learn to act as if nothing bothers you, you reclaim every ounce of your power. You become the architect of your reality, the commander of your fate, and the protector of your peace. And that, my friend, is what it truly means to master life. And that's the secret, isn't it? The moment you stop reacting, the moment you choose stillness over chaos, you reclaim your power. What others say or do only affects you if you allow it. And when you no longer give them that permission, something incredible begins to shift, not just in how you see the world, but in how the world sees you. The power of purposeful detachment. One of the greatest anchors of emotional detachment is having a clear and unshakable purpose. When you know where you're going, when your goals, your values, your inner mission are deeply rooted, petty distractions can't touch you. The noise of the world fades into the background, and your energy becomes too valuable to waste. Ask yourself this: would a warrior in the middle of battle stop to argue over a meaningless insult? Of course not. They stay focused because their mission matters more than their ego. The same principle applies to you. When you're driven by vision, minor annoyances lose their grip. You stop reacting emotionally because your eyes are fixed on something greater. That's why the people who master themselves eventually master life. While others get flustered, you remain composed. While they spiral into panic, you step forward with clarity. While they waste their time chasing approval, you walk steadily toward your purpose. Emotional detachment is not apathy, it's prioritization. Here's where many get it wrong. They think detachment means not caring, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Detachment is not apathy, it's strategic prioritization. It's recognizing that your emotional energy is finite and not everything deserves a piece of it. Think about how much of your life has been consumed by thoughts that didn't matter in the long run. That awkward conversation, that unfair comment, that one moment where someone misunderstood you. Did any of it matter 5 years later? Will it matter 5 years from now? In most cases, the answer is no. And yet we allow these fleeting things to control our minds, weigh down our hearts, and slow our progress. True freedom begins when you let go of what doesn't matter, when you choose your battles wisely, when you realize that not every opinion deserves a response, not every challenge requires engagement, and not every emotional wave is worth riding. Stand firm, be unshaken. Think of the people you admire the most, not the loudest, not the most reactive, but the most grounded. These are the people who hold their composure when others lose theirs. They are not easily manipulated. They are not shaken by judgment or flattery. Why? Because they know who they are. When you carry that same certainty, when you stand in the truth of your own self-worth, something powerful happens. People start to respect you, not because you beg for their approval, but because you don't. You become someone others look to, not someone who's easily swayed by them. In a world where most are desperately trying to fit in, to be liked, to gain followers, the one who remains unbothered by the noise will always stand out. They radiate something deeper than popularity. They radiate presence. The power of non-reaction. Now picture this. Someone criticizes you harshly, unfairly. The average person would jump to defend themselves, to explain, to retaliate. But what if you didn't? What if you simply paused, stayed calm, and moved on? When you do that, you win twice. First, you rob the critic of their power. They expected drama. They wanted a reaction. And when they don't get it, they're left rattled, not you. Second, you maintain control, not just over the moment, but over yourself. And that's what real strength looks like. Self-respect is a form of quiet dominance. It speaks louder than any argument ever could. You don't need to raise your voice when your inner peace speaks for you. Focus is the greatest asset. Success doesn't come from reacting to every distraction. It comes from eliminating them. Those who rise to greatness don't waste time on petty drama or the opinions of people who don't contribute to their growth. They remain laser-focused. They protect their mental space like a fortress. And that clarity, free from emotional clutter, is what allows them to make real progress. Every moment you spend worrying about something trivial is a moment stolen from your purpose. So how do you build this focus? Start by auditing your reactions. The next time you feel frustration, anger, or anxiety bubbling up over something small, pause. Ask yourself, is this really worth my energy? Most of the time, the answer will be no. Let it go. Move forward. Build a life that reflects your priorities. Another crucial practice is defining your priorities. What truly matters to you? Is it your peace, your growth, your long-term vision? Write it down. Be clear. Because once you know what matters, it becomes much easier to let go of what doesn't. when your life is guided by clear purpose, when your sense of self-worth is rooted within, not in someone else's opinion, you become unshakable, untouchable. Not because you don't feel, but because you feel deeply about the right things. This is the secret most people never learn. Power doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being unmoved when you're not. Break free from the trap of approval. Approval seeking is a prison, one built with invisible bars made of doubt, fear, and insecurity. When you live for others' validation, you hand over the steering wheel of your life. And here's the harsh truth. No matter what you do, someone will always disapprove. Someone will misunderstand. Someone will judge. So why waste your precious energy trying to please everyone? Confidence doesn't come from being praised. It comes from being self-reliant. It's built on the understanding that you don't need permission to be yourself, that your worth is not up for public debate. Think about the most magnetic people you have ever met. They don't chase approval. They don't mold themselves to fit expectations. They show up as they are, fully unapologetically, and that's what makes them unforgettable. True freedom is internal. The need for approval is rooted in fear. Fear of being disliked, of being rejected, of standing alone. But here's the liberating truth. You don't need to be liked by everyone. In fact, you won't be. And that's okay. When you release the need to be universally accepted, you free yourself. You start living for your truth, not for others' opinions. And the people who change the world, they never fit in. They weren't concerned with being liked. They were driven by purpose, by fire, by clarity of vision. Criticism didn't stop them. Doubt didn't derail them. Because their confidence wasn't borrowed, it was built. And that's what makes them truly unstoppable, not their need for applause, but their refusal to be defined by it. If the last step was learning to stand without needing anyone's approval, then the next step is learning how to silence the noise, validate yourself, and face criticism without crumbling. Freeing yourself from the approval trap. Let's begin with a question whose opinion truly matters. Too often, the loudest voices in our lives come from people who don't walk our path, who don't know our story, who've never tasted our struggles. And yet we let their opinions shape our identity. But here's the truth, their words carry no weight unless you hand it to them. Start by identifying whose voice is guiding your decisions. Is it someone who truly understands your mission? Or is it someone shouting from the sidelines of a journey they've never taken? The next crucial step is this. Learn to validate yourself. Celebrate your wins. Acknowledge your progress. Whether it's a big breakthrough or a small victory, recognize it. Because when you begin to affirm your own value, you no longer need applause to feel worthy. You simply know that you are. And no, this isn't about arrogance. It's not about being dismissive or thinking you're above others. It's about owning your path. It's about saying, I respect my decisions. I believe in my vision. I will not let someone else rewrite the story I'm writing with my life. The moment you stop seeking validation is the moment you begin to live freely. Suddenly, your words aren't filtered through someone else's expectations. Your dreams aren't watered down to make others comfortable. You walk forward bold and purposeful because your life is no longer a negotiation, it's a declaration. Not everyone will get you, not everyone will cheer for you, and that's perfectly okay. The ones who truly matter, the ones who respect you, will admire your courage, not because you seek their approval, but because you don't need it. So choose yourself. Stand tall in your values, your beliefs, and your vision. Let go of the need to be validated by those who don't even understand what you're building. Because once you embrace the power of self-acceptance, you become unshakable. Not because everyone agrees with you, but because you no longer require them to. Handling criticism without losing your peace. Let's talk about criticism. It's inevitable. But how you respond to it, that's what defines your strength. Most people break under criticism. One negative comment can shake their confidence for days. A disapproving look can make them second-guess their entire identity. But why criticism at its core is just words. It's perspective. It's feedback, sometimes thoughtful, often careless, and usually filtered through the lens of someone else's limitations. The truth is, criticism only holds the power you give it. If you react emotionally, you surrender control. But if you approach it with logic, you remain centered. You don't let it define you, you let it inform you. The strongest people, they don't ignore criticism, but they don't bow to it either. They assess it calmly, rationally. They take what's useful and discard the rest. No overreactions, no emotional spirals, just quiet discernment. Here's the golden rule: filter criticism through logic, not emotion. If it helps you grow, accept it. If it doesn't, release it. There are two types of criticism: constructive and destructive. Constructive criticism is gold. It comes from people who've walked the path, who understand the game, who want to see you evolve. That's the kind you should welcome. But destructive criticism, that's the venom of the insecure, the fearful, the envious. It often reveals more about the speaker than about you. Imagine a sculptor chiseling away at his masterpiece. As he works, a crowd gathers. Some admire his technique. Some offer insight. Others mock what they don't understand. Does the sculptor throw down his tools because of mockery? No, man. He continues focused, unwavering, guided by the image in his mind, not the noise from the crowd. This is how you must respond to criticism. When someone offers critique, ask yourself, do they have the experience or credibility to judge me? If yes, consider it. If no, let it pass. Not all voices deserve a seat at your table. Criticism often comes from people who've never built anything, never risked anything, never dreamed beyond the limits of fear. Their words reflect their own ceilings, not your potential. That's why criticism is a test not of your talent, but of your emotional resilience. The weak react, defensive, panicked, unsure. The strong stay calm. They reflect, they analyze, and then they move forward untouched. When you handle criticism with poise, the world sees something rare, unshakable confidence. Look at history's visionaries, the greatest creators, leaders, innovators. They were mocked, doubted, ridiculed, but they didn't flinch. They didn't crumble. They listened when it served them and ignored the rest. And that ability, the ability to stand in the storm without being swept away, is what set them apart. Emotional mastery under pressure. Pressure reveals who we really are. Some collapse, some complain. But the strong, they remain steady. Why? Because they prepared their minds before the storm came. They didn't expect life to be easy or fair. They expected resistance. They trained for it. The secret to composure under pressure is simple but powerful: detach from the need for control. Understand this: things won't always go your way. People will disappoint you. Setbacks will arise. Plans will fall apart. But you don't panic. You adjust. Most people crumble under pressure because they expect ease. They expect things to unfold smoothly. And when reality proves otherwise, they lose it. They resist what is instead of adapting to what must be. But those who train their minds to expect challenge, they respond with strategy. They move with the storm, not against it. Think of a seasoned warrior. He doesn't step into battle hoping it'll be easy. He anticipates ambushes, difficulty, chaos, and because of that, he stays sharp. He doesn't waste energy wishing things were different. He focuses on execution. That's how you win under pressure. The world will throw fire your way. But if your mind is calm, if your heart is steady, you walk through the flames without burning. When things go wrong, and they will, you respond, not react. That's the difference. A reaction is impulsive. A response is intentional. True composure isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about staying grounded even when it's not. So train your perspective. Pressure isn't a punishment, it's a test, a challenge, a stage on which discipline is revealed. The next time stress rises, treat it as a game. Observe your emotions. Don't suppress them, just don't obey them. Detach, decide, then act. The more you do this, the more natural it becomes. And over time, you develop something the world admires, but rarely understands: a calm that no chaos can touch. And that's the secret behind the calmest, most unshakable individuals. They don't wait for pressure to arrive. They train for it. Just like a warrior sharpens his sword before the battle, the mentally strong prepare their minds long before the storm ever hits. Preparation: train before the storm. Mental strength isn't built in the moment of pressure. It's forged in the quiet hours before. Most people walk through life hoping things will go well. They cling to comfort. They expect ease. But hope is not a strategy. And when life delivers setbacks, and it always does, those unprepared fall apart. But you're not most people. To truly become resilient, you must mentally rehearse adversity. Condition your mind to remain steady under stress. Visualize worst-case scenarios, not to worry, but to be ready. Imagine obstacles. Feel the pressure. Then picture yourself responding with control, not chaos. When you do this, you train your brain to remain unmoved when the real test arrives. This preparation transforms you into a strategist, not a reactor. You're not caught off guard. You're not scrambling. You've been here before in your mind, and now you move with clarity. So when pressure begins to build, remind yourself, this is my test. This is your moment to prove your composure, your strength, your discipline. While others panic, you breathe. While others lash out, you calculate. And when the storm passes, as it always does, you're still standing, untouched, unshaken, unbreakable. Letting go of what you can't control. Much of our suffering doesn't come from the situation itself, but from our refusal to accept it. We become attached to outcomes, attached to expectations, attached to a version of reality we believe should happen. And when life dares to unfold differently, we feel frustrated, disappointed, even broken. But here's the truth. Mental strength lies not in controlling every outcome, but in letting go of the illusion that you can. Picture a river. Watch how it flows around rocks, under bridges, through narrow passages. It doesn't resist. It doesn't complain. It moves forward, adapting effortlessly to the shape of its surroundings. It doesn't demand that obstacles move. It simply flows. You must learn to do the same. Life won't always go your way. The job may fall through. The person you trusted might leave. Plans may collapse. And when they do, you have a choice: resist and suffer, or adapt and rise. Letting go is not giving up. It's choosing to redirect your focus toward what you can control. Clinging to what should have been keeps you trapped. It's like trying to swim while holding a heavy rock. The moment you release it, you rise. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If not, let it go. Let go of the replay. Let go of the blame. Let go of trying to rewrite the past. This act alone frees you from a cycle of pain that so many never escape. Think of the calmest people you know. They are not cold or disconnected. They simply don't fight what they can't change. They accept uncertainty. They flow with life, not against it. Most people tie their happiness to outcomes. If things go their way, they're satisfied. If not, they crumble. But this makes you fragile, dependent on circumstances outside of your control. True strength comes from adaptability. When you let go of rigid expectations, you create space for flexibility, resilience, and calm. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop suffering unnecessarily. You still dream, you still work hard, you still love deeply, but you don't fall apart when life takes an unexpected turn. Letting go is a daily practice. Start small. The long line at the store, the delay in plans, the traffic jam. Notice how it feels when you don't let these things steal your peace. You'll discover a powerful freedom when that grows with every moment you refuse to react. Eventually, you'll apply the same mindset to the bigger things: a failed relationship, a lost opportunity, a closed door. And when you do, people will ask, how are you so calm? They won't understand your secret. But you will. You have mastered the art of letting go. Remember, detachment is not apathy. Apathy is disconnection. Detachment is wisdom. It's knowing that life is unpredictable and peace comes not from control, but from acceptance. So stop resisting, accept what is, adapt to what comes, and always remember, strong minds don't cling. They flow just like the river, forward, quiet and unstoppable. Silence is the ultimate power move. In a world obsessed with noise, with speaking, with constantly being heard, there is one rare skill that commands immense power: silence. Most people speak to prove themselves, to fill space, to chase validation. But the most powerful individuals don't speak to be heard. They speak when it matters. They listen. They observe. They hold back. And when they finally speak, every word lands with weight. Silence is unsettling. It makes people uncomfortable. It forces them to second-guess themselves, to wonder, to overanalyze. And in that wondering, you gain control. In a conversation, the one who speaks less usually holds more power. Words reveal, but silence conceals. When you master silence, you shift the dynamics in your favor. You take control of the interaction, not by dominating it, but by managing your presence within it. Most people rush to fill silence with explanations, apologies, or justifications. But when you don't rush, when you pause, others begin to reveal themselves. Their insecurities, their thoughts, their intentions. Meanwhile, you remain still. And in that stillness, you gather information while giving nothing away. Imagine being in a negotiation. Someone presents an offer. They expect you to respond immediately. But instead, you pause, you remain silent. And in that silence, they begin to squirm. They second guess, they adjust, they offer more. Because silence creates tension, and tension creates leverage. Now apply this principle in everyday moments. The next time someone insults you, say nothing. Most people expect a reaction, anger, defense, retaliation. But when you give them nothing, you take away their power. They're left to sit with their own emotions, unsure if their words landed. That discomfort, that's your power. Silence is also a tool for observation. When you talk less, you notice more. The hesitation in someone's voice, the shift in posture, the subtle contradictions. These cues often go unnoticed because people are too busy trying to speak. But you're collecting data, calculating, preparing, already. That's why the most influential people in the world that are rarely the loudest in the room, which I know, they speak with precision, they conserve energy, they choose impact over volume. To cultivate this skill, practice restraint. In your next conversation, listen more than you speak. Pause before responding. Let others go first. Let them reveal themselves. The less you say, the more they lean in. And in emotionally charged moments, stay silent. When angry, stay silent. When insulted, stay silent. When someone demands an instant answer, delay. The ability to hold your words is a rare discipline, and discipline earns respect. Remember, silence doesn't mean weakness. It means control. It means power. A pause can speak louder than a sentence. A moment of quiet can shift the entire energy in a room. So the next time someone expects you to react, don't. Let them wonder. Let them fill the silence. Let them lose control while you keep yours. Because in a world that can't stop talking, silence is your greatest weapon. And when the world wonders how you stayed so composed, how nothing seemed to disturb your peace, it won't be a mystery. You'll know the answer deep in your bones. You trained for this. You built a fortress in your mind that no chaos could penetrate. Train yourself to stay calm no matter what. The mind is your true battlefield. What happens inside your head, the thoughts you nurture, the doubts, you silence the fears you face. These determine whether you rise or fall. Victory doesn't begin in the moment of the challenge. It begins in the moments leading up to it, when no one is watching and your discipline is being shaped. Understand this: the strongest individuals aren't those who never feel fear or doubt. It's not that their minds are free from negativity. It's that they've trained themselves not to be ruled by it. You must do the same. To build an unshakable mind, you have to form mental habits that rewire your default responses. Practice gratitude to combat negativity. Use discipline to override laziness. Embrace detachment to eliminate unnecessary suffering. Just as the body grows stronger through resistance, the mind becomes resilient through daily challenges. Mental toughness isn't something you can summon in the heat of a crisis if you haven't cultivated it in the quiet. You have to train every day, in small ways, in private moments, for the world demands it from you. Train yourself to pause before reacting, breathe before responding, observe before speaking. The majority of people are ruled by emotions. They explode, retreat, collapse. They react out of fear, out of frustration, out of weakness. But you're not here to be like the majority. The few who control their minds control everything. They don't allow distractions, disappointments, or insults to derail their peace. They walk with a purpose that is deeper than mood, a calm that's more stable than circumstance. That's how warriors think. That's how leaders move. And it's how you must begin to live. Mental strength is built in those seemingly insignificant moments. When you wake up early, even though every part of you craves more sleep. When you stay silent instead of lashing out in an argument. When you keep going, even though your mind screams for comfort. These moments are weights for the mind. Every time you choose resistance, your mind gets stronger. One of the most transformative habits you can develop is detachment. That doesn't mean becoming emotionless. It means not letting your emotions dictate your life. You separate yourself from outcomes, from opinions, from the chaos of the world around you. You gain a clear vantage point while others get lost in reaction. Picture a storm. Most people get tossed around by the wind, pulled in every direction, reacting to every gust. But those who have trained their minds, they stay still. They let the storm swirl around them without pulling them in. They know better than to fight the uncontrollable. Instead, they conserve their strength for what truly matters. Discipline is another pillar. Your mind left unchecked will always seek comfort. It will look for shortcuts. It will avoid pain. And that's why most people never rise. They give in to distraction, procrastination, and doubt. But when you consistently choose discipline over ease, you begin to rewire your identity. You become someone others cannot shake because you don't bend to every passing emotion. Start small. Build discipline through daily habits. Meditate to quiet your mind and strengthen focus. Exercise to build consistency and mental endurance. Read to expand your awareness and deepen understanding. Keep promises to yourself no matter how small. These aren't just tasks, they are training grounds. They sharpen your internal blade. Because life will test you. People will challenge you. Obstacles will come. But if you've trained your mind, nothing outside of you can break you. And when others look at you and say, "How do you stay so calm, so composed, so unaffected?" you'll know the truth. You earned that calm. You didn't inherit it. You built it. Brick by brick, thought by thought, discipline by discipline. And nothing can take it from you. Mastering the art of moving in silence. Now we arrive at one of the most misunderstood, yet most powerful strategies of all: moving in silence. Real power doesn't make noise. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't seek permission. It simply acts quietly, decisively, and lets the results speak for themselves. The loudest people in the room are rarely the strongest. They're often the most insecure. They crave recognition. They constantly talk about what they're going to do, yet rarely follow through. But the truly powerful, they don't speak to impress. They move with intention. If you want to be respected, stop announcing your goals. Stop explaining yourself to people who won't understand. Stop seeking applause before you've even taken action. Just do the work. Every time you talk about your plans, you invite criticism, doubt, and interference. The more you say, the more vulnerable your vision becomes. But when you move in silence, no one can sabotage what they don't see coming. And by the time they notice, you've already won. Strong individuals don't waste energy proving themselves. They don't argue, they don't overshare, they don't ask for permission. They let their outcomes do the talking. There's a reason the most legendary leaders and thinkers in history weren't constantly broadcasting their next move. They understood that power is in execution, not explanation. They didn't dilute their vision by sharing it with the wrong people. They built it quietly, ruthlessly, relentlessly. You must do the same. Develop the discipline to keep your ambitions private. Guard your energy. Let people wonder what you're working on. Let them question how you remain so composed. The less they know, the more control you have. Remember, silence isn't passive, it's strategic. When you speak less, people fill in the blanks with curiosity. They speculate. They overthink. And in that uncertainty, you gain leverage. When you finally speak, your words carry weight, not because you're loud, but because you're rarely loud. People listen not because you demand attention, but because you don't waste words. In a world where everyone is desperate to be seen, to be heard, to be praised, be the one who doesn't need the spotlight. While others chase attention, you chase mastery. While they seek to appear successful, you become successful. And that's the difference between those who talk about doing great things and those who actually do them. So when the urge rises to explain, to prove, to announce, resist. Let your results do the talking. Let your progress be the evidence. Because the moment you stop chasing validation, people start to notice. They start to pay attention. They ask how you did it, how you stayed so grounded. And that's when you'll know you've mastered the game. Not because you told the world, but because you showed it without saying a word.